Derek, can you just give me 2 seconds now? Because somebody could come into my front door. Just give me two seconds, all right?
Typically.
Sorry, lads. It's all right. It was just that somebody putting some shite through the door. No, literally a bit of shite, but some leaflets, you know what I mean?
I'll scrap this. There's no words.
You'd have got it done in 45 minutes if you hadn't invited me, guys.
I might even get this out tonight and the podcast.
Hey!
And the stadium erupts in red, white and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.
Manchester, brace yourself. Rangers are coming!
Hi everyone and welcome to the next episode of the iReady podcast. As ever, I'm your host Derek and with me is my co-host Dave. How are you doing, Dave?
Derek, I'm fine, mate. A bit disappointed about last night's result, but we will get into that in a wee while. But apart from that, yes, everything is tickety-boo.
Yes, likewise disappointed from last night, but we'll cover that in due course. But Dave, we've got another guest on tonight, haven't we?
We certainly have a man who's been on the pod before, so I can say he's the sort of third member of the iReady podcast, the man that's been on the most in the past, and delighted to have him back. Derek, I'll let you do the introductions.
Yes, none other than the one and only Craig McCrimmon. How are you doing, Craig?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me back on. It's been feels like too long, but no, it's good to be here. Shame about the circumstances, right enough. But doom and gloom to discuss with last night's result. But no, looking forward to getting into it. It'll be great.
Feels like too long. Was that a wee dig there?
No, yes. Not at all. Listen, you've tried to have me back on, but as you say, the big man's organisational skills are no great. So
I knew I'd get the blame of it somehow. Do you know what I mean?
It's not so much his organisational skills as his holiday skills are perfect. You know, he's booking them, but that's what happens all the time.
That's it. Yep, definitely.
I'm saying nothing, Derek, because as you know, my wife and my family have actually ditched me for a week to go on holiday again, and I've been left at home. So this is completely new to me. So I'm feeling a wee bit abandoned, and then that result last night just nearly sort of tipped me over the edge. You know what I mean? But I've had a few beers today. I'm relaxed. I'm now off my work, so ready to get into it.
I would fucking abandon you too.
You've got no chance of that, like.
Yes, so we've got a couple of games to cover. The game against Livingston and the unfortunate, rather disappointing and dismal loss last night against Union SG. So we may as well get straight into it and go down the tunnel and onto the park. So, Dave, you want to cover the Livingston game, which was on Saturday the 30th of July, and it was a 2-1 win. And it was in Livingston, wasn't it?
It certainly was, and Giovanni Van Bronckhorst put out the following Rangers team. John McLaughlin in goals. That was the big question. You sort of pre-season when Alan McGregor re-signed his contract. Was McGregor going to be back in? Was it going to be McLaughlin? I think the vast majority of us were wanting to see McLaughlin get his chance. He certainly was between the sticks in this game. Captain James Tavernier, Borna Barisic at left back, Connor Goldson, and the league debut for Rangers for John Souttar. John Lundstrom, Glenn Kamara, and Tom Lawrence also making his debut for Rangers in midfield, and up front, Ryan Kent, Scott Wright, and also Antonio Cholak making his league debut for Rangers. On the bench, McGregor, Jack, Davis, Sands, Fashion Sakala, King, Devine and Tillman. So we were all desperate to see some of the new players play. We were desperate for a victory in the first game. We knew it was going to be difficult, but not quite as difficult as it was. So, the game started Rangers on the front foot straight away, and within the first minute, an early, James Tavernier found space inside the box, and an early cross to the back, low cross to the back post, almost resulted in a goal. Great save by the goalkeeper, and we thought straight away that's us. We're well up for it. But then on the 5th minute, defensive calamity, not involving not just one Rangers player but two. It was a sort of long ball played up to the up to the right wing, the Livingston right wing, and Borna Barisic, just completely left his man to get the free header on there. The ball was played into the box, and John Souttar, I can only say, out-muscled by the big striker for Livingston, Nublet, out-muscled him, got round him, he saw that McLaughlin was off his line, the ball was at a bounce, and he dinked it over the top. Great finish by him, but absolutely shambolic defending by Rangers, by both Barisic and Souttar. Really, really poor. We thought to ourselves, it's only 5 minutes into the game, surely we will get back into the match. And then the first half, as you said, Derek, you put a wee tweet out there. It was, get the ball to the wing, put the cross in. Cross is either cleared or overhit. And then we just kept repeating that. And then, basically that was it to half time. And then when we looked at the stats, 22 crosses into the box and absolutely no shots on target. Not good enough at all. We were looking to see what Čolak was able to do. I'm not going to blame him for that, because the crossing that was into the box was really poor by everyone, by Kent, by Wright, by Tav, by Barisic. We were just well off it. In the second half, though, a sub straight away. Scott Wright came off and Tillman came on to make his debut. So there was more urgency in the second half. And in the 54th minute, we thought we had equalised. Ryan Kent put in possibly his first half-decent cross into the box. Čolak was there with a glancing header past the goalkeeper. We all thought it was a goal. The linesman's given offside. If it was offside, it was offside by a centimetre, if that. Really unlucky there. Good goal. Wasn't to be. And then about a minute after that, more goalmouth action, high ball into the box. It was heading straight for the top left-hand corner, the goalkeeper's goal. He gets a hand to it, hits the post, hits the bar, falls perfectly for Tillman. He drills it, but unfortunately straight at the goalkeeper. If it had been an inch either side or above, it was definitely a goal. What wasn't to be. And then the 63rd minute, a long-range shot by John Lundstrom, just past the post but inches. I actually thought it was in. It wasn't. But then inspired substitution, and that man Scott Arfield does what Scott Arfield does. 67th minute, it was a sub. Arfield and Sands came on for Souttar and Kamara. John Souttar really had the debut to forget, unfortunately for him. He really looked out of position. He didn't look settled at all. He was getting out-muscled at every time by the Livingston striker, who had turned him inside out after a few minutes before that, almost scored a second. So he came off, disappointing for him, and it was Arfield and Sands that came on. And then, only 5 minutes later, 72nd minute, we get the equaliser. It was Ryan Kent on the left. He cuts back and actually puts in an in-swinging cross into the box way, and there was Arfield, trademark at Arfield stuff, making the late run, glancing header past the goalkeeper. A fantastic goal, I have to say, absolutely brilliant. That gets us back in. We're going for the winner, and then we get a free kick at the edge of the box. I think it was Čolak that was brought down in the edge of the box. Who steps up? The captain, James Tavernier, and he curls the ball right round into the top right corner. Fantastic goal for Rangers to put us 2-1 up. Then after that, we were in complete control. The only other thing I've got written down here was Lawrence came off in the 83rd minute and Ryan Jack came on, but we saw the game out after that, Derek. So absolutely delighted with a victory to start off. We made it hard work for ourselves, but we got there in the end.
Take a breath, Dave.
Aye, I know.
Craig, what do you remember of the game?
I think for me, probably the old cliche about a game of two halves. I think there's this concern with us now that, if we get a setback, in terms of we lose a goal or whatever early, it does seem to kind of, rattle the team. And that's been a kind of thing that's went back for, quite a while actually. The way that they react to sort of adversity. I think kind of Gio showed again that he's got that flexibility to change things and switch it up, and I think the substitutions, worked quite well for us. I think the key thing really for me was that, Tillman was actually coming there in the centre of the pitch and actually looking for the ball, try to get on it, try to get turned, bring other people into the game. I think before that, I think we were just, it's that kind of predictable, what he's described, side to side, this out wide, somebody tries a cross, another person, and it's a bit kind of similar. I think whereas you see with Arfield, when he comes on there, that movement to actually, try and time a run, so that these balls aren't quite seamless. I think Sholak was unlucky with his effort. I think it's going to be improved that, I think he probably was onside. That might be what he needed to get himself started, a goal in competitiveness. But again, with him, if we're going to be playing that kind of style of football, I think the service there has got to be better. I think he showed with that chance there that, if you give him the service for the wide areas, I think he will get goals. But certainly we need to find a way, I think, to start the games better. And why does it take 2 or 3 substitutions to kind of, find that groove? I think that would be the only worry. Second half performance was very good. And if we play like that, we're going to win most games, I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, it was a carbon copy of most of the opening games last season as well, where we play great for 5 minutes, lose a goal, and then we are in complete control for the rest of the half. I mean, I've got the stats here for the first half: 83% possession, 24 crosses, 7 shots, 5 off target, 0 on target. I mean, that's disgraceful for the first half. Yeah. It really is. As I said before, it was like no urgency, no inventiveness, no flair. And it was maybe the cliched thing that maybe still too many of them are on holiday mode, which they shouldn't be because they've been back from pre-season for a number of weeks. So really, really disappointing the way we played there. I mean, I think every one of us said when Arfield came on, or maybe this is just me, what's he going to do? But he always seems to do it. He always seems to grab the goal as well. So that's the last time I'll ever say that about Arfield when he comes off the bench like that as well.
He's done it too many times now, Derek. He's absolutely fantastic at making a late run and completely losing his man. I think that's his sort of trademark. There's nobody better in the game at the moment in Scotland that can do that what he does. So any time he comes off the bench, we always know that we've got a chance. What was your feeling, Derek, on, and I know it's very early to ask, but what was your feelings about John Souttar? Obviously had a game to forget, and it didn't make the European squad either. Do you think it's just a matter of waiting to settles, or are you got any concerns this early on?
I mean, obviously you've got concerns, but apparently there was a bereavement in his family, I believe, as well, which that might have been playing on his mind, which if you're a footballer, you want to play football and you're going to say that you're fine even though you might not be. So, as Goldson said, funnily enough, in the press conference after, too many Rangers fans get on players' backs so early, and it creates maybe a negative tension around the players when they go in the park, and if they make a mistake and they're a confidence player, it gets in their head, so they try harder, but then everything just keeps coming off worse because they're trying too hard. Rangers fans, he had an absolute stinker, but some Rangers fans maybe need to calm it down. If it continues on, absolutely, then there's a major issue there, and he should be dropped. Go away for some, remedial training as a footballer almost, and then we'll reassess the situation there. But we've got to give these players time. Look at, Lundstrom, and I've always been a champion for Lundstrom. He was deemed to be absolutely honking when he first came in. Now he's one of the stars of the team. So you've got to give players time to bed in as well. One thing I do want to talk about, obviously, is the red cards, or the double yellows that should have been that wasn't. Now, one of their players, I can't remember who it was picked up a booking early on. He had made a number of challenges, and the referee never gave him another booking, which he maybe should have done. He went over to the Livingston captain, obviously said to him, it's maybe a case of getting him to calm down, and within a minute or two later he was hauled off. Now, rather strange refereeing that, was it not?
I think David Martindale even admitted that himself, Derek. He knew that he had to take him off before he gets sent off. So you see that in boys football, Derek. You see all the time the referee having a word in the coach's ear to say, look, he's going to get himself sent off, so you better sub him. Never really seen it in professional football before, but it is Scottish football, isn't it?
Yeah. No, that's quite an embarrassing one. That, you know what I mean? It's this referee, if you like, try to invent the rules as he goes along. Almost, like you say, continual fouling to then go and have a word with the captain to say, let's calm it down. It's no rugby we're playing here. That's not the sort of kind of laws of the game, just with the totting up process, that guy should have seen 2 yellow cards, and then for his manager to have an opportunity to sub him off. I mean, again, that's, it's embarrassing, really. Like you say, it's kind of schoolboy stuff. But I think if I could just quickly go back to, I think with John Suter, I'm pretty relaxed about Big Suter. He's exactly the kind of signing that he should be making. Getting the best players for their Scottish teams. He's on a free. I think we give him time to bed in. I don't see him starting regularly unless we play 3 at the back. I think Goldson's going to play every week. We know that. He doesn't miss games, and you have to think it's going to be Davies that's going to partner him, because obviously we've made that investment in him. So I think Suter will get the time that he needs, and I think he'll come good for us.
Possibly could have been a key player for us last night, playing in a back 3, but a position that he's more comfortable playing for his old club and for his country as well. But hindsight's a fine thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we'll come on to it. I think with the back 3, I think this tendency to drop Big Lundstram in there, I think we will see us moving away from that. You're basically taking your best midfielder, let's be honest, out of the middle of the park, and obviously having these options, alright, then they played particularly well last night, but you've got like Sands and that can play there. You have got Suter, you've got Davies and that coming in now, so there is options there to partner Goldson and go to a back 3 with proper defenders. I think you've seen with Suter, at Hearts and even latterly with Scotland, he's pretty comfortable there.
Yeah, I suppose it's just one thing. We'll just need to wait and see what happens. The last talking point of the game I want to go over now, Dave, you obviously mentioned about the offside goal that really should have been. Now, it was certainly in line for me. Andy Walker clearly doesn't know the rules because he says it was inconclusive. Well, if it's inconclusive, you've got to give the advantage to the attacking player. That's one thing that VAR will sort out, is the offside things. There was another incident as well where the Livingston players had the ball in the back of the net, but the referee had blown for a foul after a corner, and Goldson, I think it was getting, or Tavernier or Goldson, one of the two, was getting held in the box, and the referee blew for the foul. Then the ball went in the net after a bounce and a header. Now, in this supposed new age of BBC and their willingness to apologise to us, it clearly never went over to Sports Scene anyway, because in the highlights yesterday, they shown in the highlight reel the offside goal, and they shown the supposed goal for Livingston, but in the panel in the end, they never mentioned once about the chopped off goal that should have stood for the offside, but quite clearly they highlighted the goal that was clearly a foul in the first place for Livingston, and they says they think the referee got that one wrong.
We discussed it in the last pod about the BBC. I'm happy the fact that, we will be getting more coverage on the BBC and, in interviews with the manager and players. I am not expecting it to change dramatically like that. We all know the sort of audience that they are playing to that way, but like yourself, I was quite surprised that wasn't even spoken about. As you say, we can only hope the VAR will stamp these types of things out, because to be fair to Cholak, it was a good finish. Probably a bit, like I said, the first decent cross that Kent had put in all game, and it led to a goal, but unfortunately wasn't to be.
Yeah, I think VAR hopefully will mop these things up. I think the worry I've got probably slightly with VAR coming in the Scottish game is that you're still that human element of error, and I think there's potentially going to be so many things chucked up into VAR. I can see mistakes happen. I can see pressure coming on the officials for getting things right. You can already see the narrative, I think, will be a bit wild when it first comes in.
Derek and I discussed that on the last pod as well, and it was just exactly, I think, what you said, Derek, the point that you made. I think VAR is only going to be as good as the officials that are using it, and in Scotland we didn't really have a great track record of that, do we?
I mean, basically VAR's going to be either an orange bastard or a Timmy bastard this season, so
it's supposed to take the kind of, obviously, the subjectiveness out of things, and I don't know, have we got the mentality to actually accept that, we're dealing with you're dealing with a decision there. That goal, to me, clearly, anybody with his right minded is going to see that's onside. That's what VAR's for. But it's it's whether that we can accept that, and whether the narrative will be allowed to accept it. So we'll see. Time will tell. I think it's good that it's coming in. The sooner the better. But we'll just wait and see in that. But as for the BBC, I think for a club of your size not to be represented by the national broadcasters, it's embarrassing. Not for the club, because the BBC's never been banned. They decided, to stand in solidarity with one of their journalists. But I think that the thing for me is that as long as we're getting access to like a press conference or an interview with Van Bronckhorst or a couple of the players about how the game's gone, I think that's really all you can expect. You're not going to get, with the greatest will in the world, the Michael Stewarts and that of this world are not going to change their narrative, and that's fine. Do you know what I mean? If they didn't want to cover a decision because it's would highlight that maybe Rangers were wronged, then fine. But as long as when the game's done, they interview the manager and we get the same access to your team as everybody else on that platform gets, I think that's the thing I'd be looking for with that one.
So we'll use that as a segue, talking about VAR, to go into this next game, because obviously controversial VAR decision in this one, and that was last night, Tuesday the 2nd of August. It was away against Union St Gilloise, I'm going to call them Union, and that was in the Champions League Qualifier, round 3, leg 1. And unfortunately we lost 2-0. Well, you say unfortunately because it was really a disgraceful performance and it should have been about 4-0. We lined up with 4 changes from the Livingston game. We lined up McLaughlin, Tavernier, Goldson, Sands, Barisic, Lundstrom, Jack, Kamara, Tillman, Matondo and Cholak. On the subs bench we have McGregor, McCrory, Ridvan, Davies, King, Devine, Davis, Lawrence, Arfield, Wright and Sakala. So obviously that cleared up pretty much one thing, is that McLaughlin is more likely going to be the number 1 keeper this season.
Yep, but as I say, it's been a big talking point, Derek, hasn't it? Like I said, we've all been, I don't want to say wishing, but I think we all think that McLaughlin deserves his chance now. McGregor's been there, he's getting on. A very good standby goalkeeper to have in there, but I think that showed, in the big games that that's who Gio's going to go for. So here's hoping that he done well, and going by what I heard. Unfortunately, I was working last night, Derek. I've only seen certain highlights of the match. That's why you and Craig are going to be covering this game. But certainly for what I've seen, certain highlights, he pulled off some fantastic saves. Yeah,
we'll certainly get into that.
Yep.
So the first half, overall, really disappointing, and it was summed up by, as I said in the post-match, one of my mates saying they're basically just a Belgian Livingston. I think he was a bit harsh on that one, because they certainly did show some good skill at the back. However, for the first 25 minutes they sat back, put every man behind the ball, they allowed us possession, and we did have 3 decent shots on goal in that time, however, but only really one of them made the keeper work hard for that. Like the Livingston game, I thought we were rather passive. We lacked pace, a bit of spark to really grab the game by the scruff of the neck. We were the only team in it at that point, and on the 7th minute we had our best chance with a free kick from Barisic. That was a free kick on the edge, on the corner of the box on the right hand side. It was going into the top corner, but the keeper made a great dive and save. We had other shots on the 8th and 11th minute with Sands and Tillman that made the keeper save, but both were comfortable enough. Union had a couple of crosses across the deck, first from the right side, then on the left, which were dangerous, and then around the 24th minute they started to up their play and take a bit more control, and they showed some good skill. They ended up scoring though on the 27th minute. It was a ball down the right, played to their player inside the box, who takes it to the touchline, cuts it back, passes out, gets the break of the ball to the attacker on the edge of the box, who hits a shot, takes a slight deflection and under McLaughlin's arms. As I said, they had upped their game in the last 5 minutes up until that point, so you could kind of see it coming. What was your opinion of the goal, Craig?
For me, it's a common thread for the Livingston game, and that was that. Yeah, I think McLaughlin. Listen, I'm not going to be two-faced about this. I wanted McLaughlin to get his chance. I think he deserves it, but also equally, I think he should stop that goal last night. That said, however, it's this recurring theme with Borna. He just, no defending when balls come across the box. I think if he does his job and stops it kind of at source, the shot doesn't even get away. I think I said to my my wife last night, actually, when he gets subbed off for Yilmaz. I think we might actually be witnessing, in football in terms at Rangers, almost the death of Borna Barisic. His weaknesses are too frequently now outweighing his strengths for me. And you seen it again at the weekend and then last night. The amount of goals that we concede, going away back to the Celtic game last season, that Borna's culpable for. It's time to me, look elsewhere. And hopefully the boy Yilmaz proves to be, a good bit of business. And I think we'll go into it later on, guys. But, even when he came on immediately, there was a drastic change. I definitely think that Barisic is a bit of concern for me moving forward. My confidence in him's shot defensively, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously one element of the goal as well. I think there was several times we could have cleared the ball. I think they got the break of the ball as well. And the ball, I think, did take a slight deflection to put McLaughlin off. I think it came off our own player, actually. So you can maybe forgive McLaughlin for that one. I know there was a wee bit of criticism that he could have got it, but for me it was just, one of these things. But piss poor, really, all round, I think.
Just very quickly on that, I think that there is a danger with McLaughlin. I think that because Griggs is still there, you just get this feeling that every time we concede a goal, there's going to be this dissection of, would McGregor have saved that? Now, we need to, as a support, I think quickly move away from that. I think the right decision is to go with a goalkeeper who's, distribution and that is better. I think that will longer term benefit us how we want to play. But we can't, already you see it right across social media and you hear it immediately that McGregor saves that. Well, we don't know, because like you say, it takes a wee bit of deflection there. And we need to start focusing on what the guy does well, which we'll come on to later on, where he does make a couple of really, really important stops that kept us in the tie. I think we having McGregor there, I just feel that's a big cloud, hanging in McLaughlin. I think that's getting undue pressure. But, we are where we are, it is what it is. But I just hopefully gets a good run and people, stick with him. You know what I mean?
I think you're absolutely spot on with that there. Dave, what's your opinion?
Yeah, Derek, I think we spoke about it right the sort of second half of last season, didn't we? Nearly every pod we're talking about Alan McGregor. He's been absolutely sensational for us, but you can just tell that there's certain things that he's, he seems to be slower than he was before. He's never been one for coming out for cross balls, whereas McLaughlin is the complete opposite. I always feel quite safe if there's a high ball into the box. I always feel quite confident that he can, come out and jump and, get his hands on the ball when it comes in. So completely different goalkeepers, I think, but he's certainly an excellent keeper. So, we've got to give him his chance there. And going back, I saw the goal going in, and I agree when you see it in the replay, there was a deflection there, so I'm not going to blame him fully for that one. It did look at this, when you first see it at first, that he could have got that, but there was definitely a deflection off there, that put the ball in. So definitely the right decision, I think, to have him as our number one over McGregor anyway.
Yeah. So really, in the first half, it was a poor performance. Tillman was quite looking lively, but it was really the rest of the team needed to wake up a lot more, much like the Livingston game. Second half, though, it was abysmal in the second half. We needed blood and thunder. We got absolutely nothing from them. Union again sat back for the first 20 minutes, allowed us to have the ball, but we were so lethargic and unwilling to do anything. And it was Unions that were the one that had the chances, with a header just over the bar on the 57th minute, then a shot 2 minutes later forcing McLaughlin into a good save. 67th minute, we made a couple of substitutions. Barisic and Jakov, Ridvan and Davies on. It was a straight replacement for Barisic, obviously, with Ridvan, and Lundstrom then moved into midfield and Davies filled in Lundstrom's spot in defence. The only decent bit of play from us came on the 69th minute. It was down the right hand side. Tavernier cuts it back to Kamara, who feeds a great ball on the right hand side of the box to Cholak, who hits a dangerous cross ball, but absolutely no takers, and it was knocked out for the corner. That was the one and only thing we'd done in the second half. It was a disgrace considering we were chasing a goal.
I think the thing for me was that the midfield wise, it wasn't working for whatever reason, and I'm a big fan of his, but I think Ryan Jack had a a pretty terrible night at the office. He wasn't. He did his usual snapping into tackles. His passing was off, which left to me. I felt Kamara was quite sort of isolated, almost kind of trying to play that kind of central midfield role on his own. I think Tillman, like you say, was probably our brightest threat, but he was out on the left, isolated for things. I think that the wider problem for me that I found frustrating, where we usually have our joy and our kind of success is wide with the wing backs. I think Barisic just didn't offer anything at all, really, for me going forward the pitch. And Tavernier was kind of stuck between a kind of stick or twist situation, because the young boy Matondo just tactically didn't look like he could deliver, what he was being asked. It's very early for him. I think the signs are very promising, but I think he was having an off night. He wasn't trying back. He wasn't following runners. So really, our biggest threat, let's be brutally honest, that we've got on the pitch last night, and Tavernier was kind of neutralised. So we struggled. I think Sholak was. Listen, he was completely isolated the whole game. That said, he needs to be doing more. He needs to be coming looking for the ball. He needs to be running the channels. Working a bit harder. I think the thing that was a real concern was that the guys that you can rely on. So if you look at that team, McLaughlin was there last season. You're looking at Tavernier, you're looking at Goldson, you're looking at Jack, Kamara, Barisic, to a degree. But see if I'm missing anybody. But these guys, I think you mentioned that these post-match interview, they were a big part of the squad that took us on that European run, and they didn't turn up last night. We can talk about tactics and formations and that blue in the face. The simple fact is our big hitters didn't perform, and I think what that then probably got us in a state of paralysis. You go, well, how do we change this? We're looking to bring I don't think the intention would ever have been to chuck Yilmaz in for a debut, away in Europe when you're 2-0 down. But necessity, dictated that would be the case. So I think for me now, that's a bit of a watershed moment. Davies, he's in now, keep him in. Yilmaz is in. Let's keep him in. And let's actually, go with the weapons that we've signed to try and improve us and step us on, rather than, I think, that reliance on the sort of the older heads in the team that we've asked to go over the course. Let's get Lundstrom in the midfield. Let's get the right partner for goals. And the sooner we get Morelos, I think Morelos back in the team. I think all the ingredients are there. But I think last night was just a real off night. I mean, I'm going to stick my neck out and say I firmly believe we'll overturn them in the next leg.
I hope you're right, Craig. I hope you're right.
No, listen, I'm confident at it. If you look at last night, I think you seen at the weekend, everybody saying, Kent, he didn't do anything, he was poor. But he assisted a goal, You missed him last night as well. I think he would have came looking for the ball, he'd demand it, running at people. And I think what last night highlighted for me was that we still need Morelos there. He's still the main man. Sholak, I think, will be fine. Don't get me wrong, I think he will be all right at the course of the season. But, I don't think for that style of performance or that style of play away from home in Europe, he's necessarily going to be that man. Polyban goes in against your Motherwells and that, of course, I think he will. So I think a wee combination of, some of the new guys just not quite being up to speed, and the existing players having an off night. It was almost a bit of a perfect storm. But I genuinely think we'll have enough about us with Ibrox but if the crowds stick with the team, we come out and start fast, which we've shown in Europe that we can do. I don't think we should be fearing that. I think it's a reality check, and I'd rather it came 2 games in to the season than we get 3, 4, 5 months down the line and realise that we have problems. I think we need to just trust the guys that we can rely on. And a special mention with that actually went to Scott Wright was actually surprised that he didn't start the game, despite how he played against Livingston, because tactically he's to me much more sort of diligent. Again, he would have worked back the pitch, he'd have took the ball, he'd have driven at people, and I think when we were going to try and play that kind of almost counter-attacking style in Europe, you need these kind of players that widen the pitch that'll drive you forward. But listen, guys, last night was horrendous. We chalk it off as a bad night at the office, and as I say, we go again Tuesday. And listen, I think we've got more than enough today. It'll be tough, but we can get it done.
Well, you're speaking like it's only been 1-0 because we've not even covered the second goal yet. Yeah, just to quickly finish off the game, on the 71st minute, McLaughlin stood up well to his near post to block a shot, so again saving us. Couldn't clear the ball. Union players lining up for another shot at the edge of the box, forcing McLaughlin to make another good save. We still couldn't clear it. Players again lining up to take another shot, and we eventually cleared. However, there was a very lengthy VAR check, because in the build up to the second shot, the ball hit off Davies' hip and then off the hand of Goldson at close range. The ref went to the screen, which you knew was going to be a bad sign, and he gave the penalty, and he gave Goldson a yellow card too. Now, I'm not sure if that was because he was remonstrating with the referee, he went up to the ref when he was checking the VAR screen, or because it was a handball. But ultimately, what's already been proven, because the rules have already been checked, is because the ball hit off one of our players and deflected up off the arms of onto the hand of our player again in the box, that should not have been ruled as a penalty. Now, if a referee sees that in real time and gives that as a penalty, then that's one thing. That's the referee seeing something in real time and then not really understanding the rules. The fact is that there's at least another 2 referees in the box watching VAR think that's a penalty also, for them to say to the referee, go and check the screen. Take away nothing from our bad performance. We caused that bad performance yesterday. But these are game-changing issues that have turned a 1-0 deficit into a 2-0 deficit, which could potentially cost us £40 million. So that again kind of leads back to what you were saying earlier, Craig, about the human element of VAR. It is only as good as the humans that are interpreting the rules. VAR was brought in to help the referees, not for them to then say, oh, I think the rule is this, so we're going to make up a rule. That was an absolute disgraceful decision. Obviously, they've converted the penalty to make it 2-0.
No, I think see with the VAR check. Listen, I think I've seen it on Twitter that you kind of mentioned about it, but I think the thing for me was that when I initially saw that there was a handball instead, I thought, oh, that'll be a penalty. But then when you kind of see it back, there was a bit of debate flying about in our house actually about it, and it was like, well, how can you avoid that? And you're right, the rules have since been proven that it is a terrible decision. I think the thing that we VAR is, though, that with that handball rule, I think it's changed every season for what feels like the last 4 seasons. So it's confusing. But the point would be that you're right, it wasn't the referee that gave it, and there's no clear and obvious error. It's the fact that you've had 2 guys sitting in, or whatever they're doing, looking at a screen, and they've not had the gumption to realise, well, is that the rules or no? That was a shocker. There's no question about it. But I think we need to get that out of our minds. We can't be hanging on it now. I think it's done. I think you highlight the error, but we move on for it. And I think even the guys in commentary last night were saying, had we played anywhere near our level, that decision really should be, that's cost us a 2-2 or whatever. I think it's just compounded by the fact that we were so poor. But you're right, it's not acceptable at that level. A Champions League game, first time they've had VAR in the qualifiers, and we got a shocking decision. I don't know whether it's fact it's inferior refs, because actually largely VAR, like in last season sort of Europa League, I thought was very, very good. So I don't know whether it's that because it's a qualifying round, the standard the refs not the same. But nah, that's a saying to take. You're right.
And then just after that, Matondo and Tillman came off. Wright and Lawrence came on. Goldson gave the ball away on the halfway line again. And there was a break. Ended up going 1v1. And it was again saved by the foot of McLaughlin. So it should have been 3-0 at that point. And then it was cleared off the line by Tavernier after a corner on the 94th minute. So potentially it could have been 4-0 at that point there. So even, after we conceded the second goal, we were still absolutely woeful, allowing them to get behind us. And it was just not acceptable in the slightest. And it's not insurmountable if we play the way we can play going into the next leg on Tuesday, then absolutely it can be done. But apparently we've never actually overturned a 2-0 deficit before, so it's not looking favourable that way. But we'll need to wait and see what transpires. What happens though if we do end up getting past them is we will be playing the winners of PSV or Monaco if we get past Union. So basically it feels like the Parma season all over again, doesn't it?
Aye, effectively you've potentially got a quite good kind of glamorous tie. But again, ironically, I think, are we better suited to that type of game? If we get there, in terms of that style that we try to play, where we do sort of try and hit people at pace on the counter attack, and then you have a team who will actually come out and try and play against you, which allows us to get space and get in behind. Again, we take them as they come. I think that the thing for me is that we need to go out on Tuesday night coming, and let's put a show on, at least make a real good fist at it. Or that could be potentially pretty damaging result. Obviously for a financial point of view, as much as anything else, we all want to be back in the Champions League. I'll probably be one of the only Rangers fans that will say this. Listen, I want to be in the Champions League 100%. That's exactly where I want to be. I think if we've got the likes of Morelos fit and able to play some part, we do it. We play our best players and we go all out to overturn this tie, and then we take our chances in the next round. But actually, with the changes in the team, another season in the Europa League to allow these guys to bed in, once we get out of the disaster that we would all make it, I don't think it'd be such a terrible thing, because we've obviously had an overturn of players, and maybe learning about that team in the Champions League might not be actually what we're after. I think I seen a couple of things last night that would maybe be a bit of a worry with the likes of Matondo and these guys really having never played consistently at that level. I don't think maybe the Champions League is the right place for them to learn. But that said, I want to be there and find out. But I think we calm our jets, boys, and we'll be in the hat for the next round. Hopefully against Monaco, I quite fancy.
Guys,
PSV, I think, would be quite dangerous.
Going back just briefly, I was quite puzzled at the start of the game. Obviously, Craig, you mentioned it very briefly with Davies being in there, who's probably going to be our first choice centre half to play alongside Goldson. Do you guys know the reason why he wasn't in the starting 11? Because I was quite taken aback to see that he wasn't in the team straight away. I know we're playing a back three, but to put in two midfielders alongside Goldson to make up the back three when we've got a centre half sitting on the bench, I was quite surprised about that one. Was there anything said for the reason why? Was he still not fully fit, or what was the reason?
I think to me, I think Gio kind of touched a wee bit upon it in his post match, is that he went with guys that that he knows and trusts, and I think a lot of managers do that. I think an away tie in Europe's maybe not the right place to just throw the guy in. I think Sands, to me, as a central defender, I think he's looking for that type of player that can play out for the back. I think that was the tactic last night. It didn't work. Sands didn't have a good night, but then it doesn't help when Goldson beside him's not having a particularly steady night. Again, I think it was just about changing too much too quick. I think any kind of manager, any person in any job really would be, I think a bit reserved about that. I mean, you could argue that should Yilmaz have played, because Barisic wasn't particularly good at the weekend, But again, you're throwing that boy in. Then you've got Tillman, who's new, Matondo that's new, Sholak that's new. Then you'd have Davies that's new, and you're kind of starting to feel, well, that's a whole new team, and we're trying to qualify for the Champions League. So I think that was in Gio's mind. Listen, I think it could work out really well for these guys because, listen, it spectacularly backfired last night. Let's be honest, it didn't go to plan at all. And now, well, let's get these guys in and let's see what they can do. So it maybe forces our hand to do it a bit quicker. I would have thought that. But that to me was the reason behind it, is just no making too many changes for a big game like that.
That was my kind of thoughts on the thing as well. Anyway, going into the next part here, I'm not going to justify giving league positions just now after only one game gone. And as I said, we're going to be playing PSV or Monaco, but that's only if we beat Union in the next round. So, next
Derek,
game,
I love your confidence there. I love that. You know, we're going to be playing them. We're going to be playing them. That's what I love.
But anyway, next game we've got is Saturday the 6th of August. That's at home to Kilmarnock in the Premiership. That's a 1500 kick-off. As I said, Tuesday the 9th of August at home to Union in the Champions League Qualifier Round 3 Leg 2. That's another 1945 kick-off. And then we've got Saturday the 13th of August at home to St Johnstone in the Premiership, another 1500 kick-off. So all Saturday games, all home games, you know, no excuses right there.
Definitely not. And like what Craig was saying, hoping and praying that we are getting certain players back who have been injured, including Alfredo Morelos, who, you know, there's been a lot spoken about today. Giovanni Van Bronckhorst saying that he has been training with the first team, he's getting back sharper and getting back fitter, and, you know, possibly hinting that he's going to be back for that game on Tuesday night. So who knows, it might be a wee substitute appearance for him on Saturday. I'll just have to wait and see what happens.
I think Alfredo, I was at the recent kind of open training session. You know, Morelos was looking, you know, fit and sharp. Obviously, there's that match kind of sharpness that he needs. I think you're right. I think, you know, if he's ready, he'll be on the bench on the weekend. I think that probably the hesitance would again be the plastic pitch at, you know, Livingston. You're not going to, you know, risk one of your key players on a plastic pitch when they're coming back for a knee problem. So I think, you know, Ibrox on the weekend is the ideal time to, you know, get minutes in his legs. Personally, I would start him. I'm more a fan of, you know, let's see if we can get even 45 minutes an hour out of him rather than, you know, bringing him on, you know, when potentially you're chasing a game. Because again, the same thing, I'd be looking if Morelos is fit. I'd be looking to start him in Europe, so I'm hoping to see a bit of Alfredo early weekend next week. And then I fully expect Davies will be in the team. I'd expect Yilmaz to be there as well.
Yeah.
I think
back to a back four. Do you think, Craig?
I think that back three has worked for us in Europe previously, but I think there was maybe a wee bit of kind of over respected Union last night. I'd listen, even despite how bad we were, I didn't look at them and go, you know, that's a Champions League level team. I think as good as they were, I think we were equally bad, which is uncharacteristic. I think a good positive result at the weekend. You know, you're sitting there with 6 points, you know, in the league, and Tuesday night, Ibrox rocking. I
certainly think if Morelos was to come back on Saturday and score a couple and have a good game, I think, you know, it would certainly give the fans a wee bit more belief for Tuesday as well, and possibly, you know, having a lot more belief. So we'll just have to wait and see. We don't know exactly what the full score is, but going by what Van Bronckhorst is saying, he's certainly close to a return. And, you know, for one, I'm desperate to see him back playing up front for us. What do you think, Derek?
I mean, you can't rush these things, and he's been out for a long time. There'll be a lack of match sharpness there. We need to get him back in. You know, my thoughts as well, though, is I think sometimes we over-rely on Morelos, and I think, as we've kind of intimated, is Cholak, if he gets the service, then I think he'll be fine, as we've seen with his goal against Livingston there. But he's not had the service, really, apart from that one real chance. Morelos is a different player. He'll drop back and he'll help out, but then it leaves us the gaps up the top where he should have been. So certainly play him. maybe not start him. Certainly give him a run out though, and again it'll be like in the European game. I think maybe not start him. Just depends on how he is, and give him certainly a wee run out.
Let's bear in mind there's no away goals now, so let's go 3-1 Rangers and we'll beat them in extra time.
I hope you're right, mate.
That's no positive. I'm going 3-0. So we'll wrap up that section now and we'll go into the news. So there's a few bits and pieces to cover in the news. First one here is Glenn Middleton has signed for Dundee United on a 3-year deal, an undisclosed fee. I mean, I'm glad we're getting something from him. Shame it didn't work out for him. Wish him all the best, but just not when he plays against us.
That's true, yeah. I think when he signed Derek, there was a lot of promise there. He certainly had his fair chance. He played the European matches. You know, it wasn't just a fact he a few substitute appearances. He had a lot of game time for us, but didn't work out, Derek. He's been out on loan. He's done fairly well playing in the Premier League for other clubs, and just unfortunately it's Dundee United that he's signed for, because I absolutely can't stand him. So I'll not be able to say sort of good luck to him in that. But as you said, I'm just glad that we've managed to get something back for him. So that's unfortunately for him, it's not worked out.
No, I agree. Good luck to the boy. Didn't work out, but listen, he's pulled on the blue jersey at some stage in his career, so good luck to him in that. But I'm with you, Dave. Dundee United kind of sticks a wee bit. It'll be difficult to like his tweets and Instagram posts now.
Exactly, mate. Yep.
Best of luck to him, you know.
Another player that is obviously going is Nikola Katic. His time at Rangers is over, as he's been told he isn't in the manager's plan. So we're apparently going to try and find him a new club as well. So again, shame it never worked out. There was promise there, but I think his career was stop-start even before he got the injury. Just again, one of these ones that never worked out.
Bit of a fan's favourite, Derek, is a lot of support for him in the social media ranks. I don't know whether it's just because he scored that header against Celtic at Parkhead. I don't know, because if you score a goal against Celtic that wins you a game, you're automatically a hero. As you say, stop-start. There were certain games he looked outstanding, certain games that just didn't look great at all. But another one, unfortunately for him, it's not worked out for him. So a guy that I will wish all the best, unless he signs for Dundee United, that is.
No, I think, again, listen, Nico was a good signing, I think, at the time. But when you look at the direction we've gone in now, and, we've gone up a level when you're signing central defenders for Liverpool. When you've got the likes of Suter there, Sands, who can play in that position, and let's not forget about young Leon King, who I think is more than able to step in.
And of course, Helander as well, that we keep forgetting about as well.
No, well, I think the thing with Helander, listen, I love the big man. I think he is actually the best defender at the club, but we can't rely on him, and I think by the time he comes back, he could be well down the pecking order. I wouldn't be surprised to see Helander leave in January. I think it's maybe time to move in another direction with regards to the big man there.
Yeah. Next thing here is the draw was made for the next round of the League Cup, and we've been drawn at home against Queen of the South. That's going to be played on Tuesday the 30th of August, and that's a 19:45 kick-off. Celtic drawn away against a Premiership team, Ross County, so the usual conspiracy theorists about hot balls were out in order again. So fuck them. Next thing is Cinch ambassador Ryland Clark was sent to Falkirk Stadium, of all places, to take pictures with all captains from Premiership teams as well as their trophy, because it was a part of the sponsorship deal. Of course, since we won our case against the SPFL, which I forgot to mention the last time, is we never sent anybody, and we're still getting paid for it. So absolutely beautiful, and
Oh, I'm gutted I missed Ryland being in Falkirk, Derek. So I am.
Next, we have appointed Welshman Kerry Bowley, I think his surname is, in a coaching role. He's joined from the City Group, and it's going to be a wide-ranging coaching role. So, welcome to the club.
Yeah, definitely. Yep.
Next thing is a rather bizarre one. Hibs owner Ron Gordon sounds like a porn star, Ron Gordon.
Trust you to think that. Automatically think that, Derek. That just says it all about you.
There's a blue movie for you. Ron Gordon, Sunshine's on Leith, you know.
Anyway, he was talking the league up and surprisingly praised Rangers, stating the fact that Rangers made it to the Europa League final is amazing. When you think about it, probably no other club has contributed to advancing the Scottish football more on a European level or in general than Rangers in the last 3 years. So fantastic getting praise from another Premiership club. Who would have thought it?
I'm sure that has gone down well in the horns and Leith there, Derek. The fact that he's been praising anything to do with Rangers, I'm sure they'll be baying for his blood soon as the results didn't go their way, brandishing him everything for blue nose to Mason and wanting him out. So I'm really quite surprised about that. But I'm pleased that they've had some recognition for people in other clubs in Scottish football. So well done.
See that. I think it's quite refreshing, right? The chairman of clubs, they need to start thinking more in that way, you know, and we need to move away from this clubs only saying what they feel their own fans would want them to say and try to protect their own interests, because it is, let's be brutally honest about it, it is for the betterment of the game that Scottish teams, you know, do well in Europe. Now, nobody's asking for Hibs fans to, you know, cheer Rangers on. That's not what their chairman's saying. But what he is saying is, if people can't see that past the nose in their face that raises the profile of the game here, you know, we've got a problem. So no, good on him for coming out and saying it. And I just wish, as I say, some more guys would do it. You've seen it with Davy Martindale. He speaks positively about all the teams that he plays against if they play well, but he speaks positively against Rangers and people kind of lose their heads about it. We need to stop that, guys. You know, as a country, we need to the people that run the clubs need to get around the table and actually, you know, let's start to collectively move things forward. I mean, that result for Motherwell the other day against Sligo, I mean, that's a nightmare. You know, that's a nightmare.
Disaster.
And you know, the mentality of the supporters that, well, you know, we're not bothered about what anybody else does. No seeing that, well, actually, if we do better in Europe, you might not have to do these qualifiers. You know, you might actually get a situation where you get Celtic in the Champions League, Rangers are at least guaranteed Europa, and Hearts are at least guaranteed the Conference League. The better the teams, the better for the game, and the guys that run it have got an obligation to speak positively about it, because that is a selling point for me.
Well, you're taking the words right out of my mouth there, because that's exactly what I was going to say. With Hearts being guaranteed a group stage European football this year, they've even got a shot of, you know, Europa League, obviously, but the Conference League, they're guaranteed to be in it. So it's like, that's a direct result of Rangers' exploits over the last 3 years. Nothing to do with Celtic, a direct exploit of Rangers and how well we've done. So they've got to start thinking about that as well. So
who knows? Do you think that Mike Mulroney will share that sentiment about Rangers, lads? I don't think so. Somehow,
not publicly anyway. Anyway, next thing here is on a kind of similar line, is there was a civic reception in Glasgow City Chambers to mark our 150th anniversary. Number of players, famous fans, and I believe even David Holmes joined the Lord Provost. It's great seeing us being acknowledged and celebrated in that way, and I'm not too sure because it was done down south first. I don't know if it was a case of they were almost embarrassed to do it, but, you know, no doubt Celtic will get that as well. And, you know, fair play, that's fair enough if they reach 150 years, something to be celebrated within the community. So I'm glad that's actually happened. But, you know, great to see, obviously, you know, the great and good of Rangers as well attend.
Yep. Fantastic, Derek. And as you say, just a great recognition as well for us. So, and to be in the public light as well. So, you know, fantastic.
No, echo that, guys. You know, it's thoroughly well deserved. I mean, what Rangers means to the city of Glasgow, or certainly one half of it, and you know, the wider population in Scotland, it's only right that, you know, they're recognised in their own city. So no, regardless of anybody's feelings towards Glasgow City Council, you know, fair play to them. It was the right thing to do, and apparently it was done well. So that's all good.
Yep. Next thing is we are holding a host of fan engagement meetings over the next wee while in an aim to increase the communication between fans and clubs. So really long overdue. I know they've had a few of these things before. It needs to happen more regularly, but I hope it's actually constructive and not just the usual greeting meeting about the usual stuff like safe standing and expanding the capacity Ibrox, which you always seem to hear. It needs to be actually genuine issues that come up. Not saying that they're not, but they've been done to death. The club have made a stand on it. Needs to be proper engagement between fans and club. You see some random stupid questions that the AGM said to the directors, which they have no standing over whatsoever. I hope it doesn't turn out like that. Anyway, I think one of them is going to be a drop-in session on Wednesday the 10th of August between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. So if you can get along to that, then do so.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you're getting along, can we all just please ask for better toilet facilities? You know, it's no 1974 anymore. And when you're in the Copeland Road stand and you know you're taking a pee and it's running all your kind of Adidas Sambas, it's not the best. Like, so please, if anybody for Rangers is listening, but facts, guys.
I'm not sure they can help you with your aim, Craig. So the next thing here is we have appointed George Taylor as director of the company. So obviously he was one of the three bears that came in with Dave King. So always a welcome addition to the board.
Yeah, and a very lengthy statement of that the Rangers put away.
Yes, you know, even I could have done a wee bit worse than that.
I'll keep it short on that one, guys. Business over my head. Moving on, business.
Yep. Something I meant to mention in the last podcast. Rangers 72 is an absolute masterpiece. It was released on Amazon Prime I think it was a couple of months ago. It's now on iTunes and Google Play, but honestly, absolutely stunning and quite emotional at the end as well. Obviously, it is the story behind the Rangers Barca Bears and what happened in 72, just the journey there and what obviously transpired. But an absolute fascinating watch, some stuff that you've never heard of before, interviews with players there at the time, and then the remontage of ex-players and those that weren't no longer with us as well. Just absolutely stunning.
I was fortunate enough, shameless plug here, but I didn't care. I was lucky enough to be at the premiere of that. So I won a couple of tickets through MyJers, and we were in the Everyman cinema in Glasgow, and obviously the great and the good Rangers were there. You know, some of the surviving Barca Bears and what have you, and you know, just actually seeing you know, how much it meant to them, even watching it back on the screen. Like you say, there's some stories in there that you've not heard before. You know, I think I'd urge anybody to go and watch it. That's obviously a Rangers fan, but I think it's one of them, you know, these football kind of documentaries that are going to boot new guys that I think anybody who, you know, likes the game will enjoy it. It really is a fantastic story, and you're right, it is very emotional. It's quite moving, you know, seeing what it means to these guys, and hearing it all recounted. So no, I'd agree with that. If you get a chance to watch it, guys, get that done. Brilliant stuff.
Yep. A couple of last things here is we have confirmed that our women's team will play their home games at Broadwood this season. They had been playing at the training centre, however, there was issues with capacity and parking. The only problem is AstroTurf, which is, you know, not the greatest. So certainly I'll be maybe able to go to a few games. Yeah,
excellent, Derek. Just along the road for you, and you know, good to see. And here's hoping that they get quite a good crowd in there as well, Derek. Certainly, if they're playing there, they'll be able to have the capacity to do so now. So, excellent stuff.
No, it's quite clever of the club there, especially with the kind of profile of the women's game now. You know, getting in a stadium where you know you can draw a decent crowd. I think the girls, I've been to a couple of the games myself, and they're brilliant with the kids. You know, they come across after a game, and you know they sign autographs and get pictures within the stadium. So that's all good. Again, my only concern, similar to yourself, is that it's on AstroTurf. You know, we're trying to sell ourselves as an elite club, and you know we're going to be playing asking the ladies to play on a surface that we're, you know, we didn't agree for our men's team to play on. That is, to me, a bit of a downside. But great that the girls are getting a larger stadium to kind of showcase their talents on.
Yeah, I mean, on a similar vein as well, as I did manage to get to one of the Rangers B team games when they played Cumbernauld Colts. That was like a nighttime fixture, so I was hoping to try and get along to it again. And partly my fault for no checking the fixtures, but then Rangers were playing Cumbernauld Colts on Saturday there at 3:00, so just after the Rangers game. So I never had the actual first team game, so I never had a chance to really get along and see it. So, and they were playing last night as well, I believe, while Rangers were playing in Europe. So it's been echoed on other podcasts. It's like, why are we scheduling these games for when the first team are playing? You're trying to enhance the game both, as a club, but as a league performance as well, and try and get more people invested in football, bring more money into the game, and they're scheduling games when the first team games are on.
Yeah. Really puzzling there, Derek. Exactly what you said. Quite silly as well, actually. When you think about it, you think they would be trying to maximise the fans to be able to go to all the games and try and generate as much money as possible. So it's really puzzling why they've done it like that.
I think as a club we'll probably get a hard time about that, but I think that's obviously as much to do with the administration of the game here. It speaks volumes of that we can't have adult conversations enough. I mean, you've seen the drama we had trying to get the B team back into the Lowland League, never mind talking about changing fixtures. And again, the women's game in particular, the amount of times last season they're playing, at the training centre and the first team's playing, at Ibrox. You're never going to get a crowd any kind of significance there. Yeah. To me, there's some easy ways to get it done. To me, the B team feels to me like get them playing on a Friday night, their home games. You know what I mean? That's when they play it. I think if you remember, Tranmere Rovers had to do that because they didn't get a crowd because of Liverpool and Everton. They used to play on a Friday night, and it pulls in a few bodies. You'd get along to that, give you something to do, start your weekend off with a game of football, and the women's games. Let's just exactly have a look. Fixture them in when Rangers are playing at home, or don't have the women playing at the same time, just move it back, whether it's, even tea time on a Sunday or whatever it may be, but give people a chance that want to go to get along. Much more like they've got happening down south, there's much more kind of cohesive, feel to it there. But, again, it's this whole thing of, Scottish clubs don't want to get out their own way, you know what I mean? And we kind of seem to have the conversations, but hopefully it does happen, because certainly the B team games that I've went to, I've really enjoyed, and certainly I've been to a couple of the women's games, and they're good. It's a different game, but they're enjoyable. So if we can get that kind of administration better, great. But I don't think that's really as much on the club as the powers that be, I'm afraid.
Yeah, just didn't play them on a Thursday night, because you know what's going to happen then, don't you? We're going to be playing Thursday, Sundays again.
No, we're not, Derek. We're going to be playing a Tuesday and a Wednesday midweek. Come on. Bit positivity.
But anyway, in the last piece of football news here is Aaron Ramsey has signed with Nice on a free transfer. So hopefully that puts an end to the stupid speculation linking him back with us anyway. So, unfortunately, I've not got a story this week.
It's no like you, Derek.
These things happen. But anyway, that endeth the podcast this week. We'll have one for the next time anyway. So, certainly, a lot of disappointment in the way we've performed, and obviously one of the results as well. Hopefully we can rectify it in the coming week, obviously, against Kilmarnock, and then the return leg. Dave and I will probably be back at some point soon. Craig, anything you would like to plug?
Just all I would say is that loads of great things happening on the old events for the 5 stars. So I would obviously urge anybody to get along, have a wee look at that. Some really exciting gigs coming up. Ian Ferguson back over in a couple of months' time. You've got Gaza and Loudrup at the Armadillo in Glasgow.
Fantastic.
With the Board, you got a dinner with the Board brothers. So loads and loads of good stuff, and loads of local events as well. Tours and stuff. So I would urge people to get looking at that. There's a lot of exciting stuff happening there.
Excellent.
Yes. So all that's left to say is thanks for listening and goodbye.
Take care, folks.
Thanks, guys. Take care. Bye bye.
And the stadium erupts in red, white, and blue. You've never seen anything like it.
Let's go.